And everybody had tried to, change you in some form or another. And I think I've been smote by all the many right arms of all the gods that ever there was. But then I just went out and I saw a lot of people on the outside, and eventually I got some degrees in record time, even created my own departments. That was sort of interesting. And then I started a 40-year odyssey around the world. I was working here and there with systems and helping revolutionary fathers in other countries build universities, social systems. I had some wonderful treatises on the new social systems, especially after, carousing through the book burning box. All institutions, they had all books are burnt, but they had forgotten to burn some manuscripts on the bottom, an envelope, and so I read them, and hey, that was interesting. Like when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people. Oh, that was good. And then inalienable rights. And so I'd written a lot of treatises on evolving governments. And some were very interesting, but they got those and they destroyed them too. But that came in handy because I still remembered a lot of it. And then I wound up working, they grabbed me, and I was overseas in a highly advanced learning center. You don't have them around here in the States. And so I was the average kid over there. 70 countries sent their kids there. Brilliant kids. World travelers, and they all spoke. The average kid spoke 2 or 3 languages, but they seen me and they gave me the above average kids. And these were, 5 to 8, 10 languages by the time they were 10. And they were blown away that another human, an adult, and that was important. That's a time period there, could do the same stuff in his head that they could. And so I was in pig heaven, and they're all gentle kids, and I quickly found out how they were created. Besides being all eidetics and polyglots, they were all what we called cross-dominant factoring, and of course they were all mother carriers. Probably the majority of them were all girls. And so as was my wont, because I wasn't going to stick to any Prussian military-based system like you guys got in the States here, I always throw away all the books and throw lectures out and get rid of all homework. That's counterproductive to learning. And so we started on the same path that all the brilliant people, the great minds that have walked this earth, like Leonardo da Vinci and Galileo and Archimedes and Mozart, Tchaikovsky, and all the great artists. And the idea wasn't that you wanted to create, a mathematician, but the idea was, my philosophy was that each child is many. That was a real hard principle to get across to educators. What I finally did was, every kid would be everything. And it worked. They all became their philosopher, their own mathematician, their own artist, musician, their own statesman, their own doctors. And I had, the workers would get together, they'd come over there, when I was in between classes, they would gather all the workers around. This was in Asia. And we had Muslims, we had Hindus, we had Buddhists, and we had every kind you could think of, 30 or 40 of them. And we would talk, about the great things that each person has. And, everybody, you unite with all your great facilities, and, you're a better person. You're more than one person. And the imams that were there, these used to be some real nice ones, the Muslims, and they would take this stuff back to their families, and they always wanted to know, what did he say? And they eventually called it the great truth that was for everyone, everyone's potential. And so after years of that, I took it to another country in another language. I wanted to see if the regular, I was going to say chromo-mag, Neanderthal, but regular, off-the-wall, standard issue, Homo sapiens, non-thinking knuckle-draggers, if you were to give them the same concept that created the brilliant minds, how would it work? And so I was in this other country in a different language. This was their second language. And hot damn, every kid in class wanted, and the whole school wanted in that class, all the parents wanted their kids in that class, especially when it worked. We were applying the same principles. They all were incredible readers, 15, 20,000 pages of all the greatest literature on earth, unheard of in the 5th and 6th grade. And the labs were incredibly intense, 15, 20 subjects, there was no lecture. And what happened was that even though there were some cross-dominant factorings in the classroom there was 3 or 4 of them, you pick them out real fast. But the average kid just went off the charts. And just by using these principles, and see, there was the kid was his own teacher, and it worked very nicely. And it sort of destroyed the public education system as we know it. We had international accreditors that would come by and accredit schools. They knew all the methods of all of the whole world. And when they saw that, they said, "We've never seen anything like this. This is incredible. We didn't think that these kids could be masters of everything." And we had old, many teachers that have been in the profession. They were, very devout, and they used to say, "Oh my God, what have we been doing all these years?" And so that worked out pretty good. And then we took it to the jungles and the rainforests with Indians, and it did the same thing. And along with, chasing agricultural, industrial polluters down, and continuing the fish research on chemicals and cancer that, that passes on to to humans, and like in South America, and here too. But for years, it seemed to be only the women and children, were getting, dying, and the tumors and stuff like this. And so it really wasn't a problem, and you can understand that out there, folks. But when the males became sterile, and they couldn't get it up, why then it became a problem, of utmost gravity. And so I just continued recording and recording and recording and documented. And we was going to build these houses and all over the world, just give them away free. But every place you went to, there was some municipal structure, even there wasn't any water. Some guy would pipe in water, and he wasn't going to about let you build a house that, didn't need water. And then there was always somebody else or some developer, and you got to the States and it was real bad. And everybody that's come into this house, everybody wants it with a passion, but they have one particular thing. They say they will never let us, that's even today, never permit us to build anything like this wherever we are. And so we tried for years to get all this stuff, out into the market. We tried about every publisher and agent there was, but we were informed there was never any demand, for anything, clean water, energy-free homes, self-contained, things like that. And what's this thing about no banks involved and no mortgages? And, there really wasn't any interest in the welfare of children in the juvenile system. And what's this thing about chasing pedophiles and body part traders all over the world? You see, but I always considered these houses and stuff like this, that was just options. And there was probably somebody out there, if you had an option to have a house that you had to pay for, immense amounts of money, or one that took care of you personally and you didn't have any mortgage, and I thought that would just be a good option. But, I found out wrong. And even today, we can't get any of this stuff published. So the papers and the manuscripts are all just lying there sitting. It's maybe best that way. Anyway, I always figured the more knowledge and understanding the people had, the more they'd be of just one accord and making a more democratic decision based on reason and consensus. It would be beneficial for everybody. Instead of everybody falling under the control and influence, a few selfish, vested, self-interested, behind closed doors, which doesn't appear to be very, very democratic. More or less like extinction by proxy. I wrote a wonderful treatise on that when I was 13. Boy, did I get a licking for that, of the devil and everything. But, or in the case of all the small libraries we're trying to create down through Central and South America and even Asia. This new library system we got, really neat, of private ownership of shared books. unfortunately, it's the same old problem that you faced when you was a kid, and for many orphanages. These knowledge-hungry kids, you know, you take the books to them, and some of these orphanages, you know, that really want to use ignorance as a tool, and these kids could really use a little knowledge to free them, you know. Well, anyway, they'll burn all the books, and it's really hard to get the books, you know, all the great American classics and the Russian and Chinese, and get them in Spanish. And, you know, it seems the last vestiges of these book burners that wish to use ignorance as a tool all seem to be of the more or less evangelical bent. We even find them scouring villages looking for books. But anyway, as concerning this self-contained family housing unit and these self-equity, sweat equity builders who are continually improving, you know, the concepts, they should not only be free, you know, tax deducting, but also tax-free forever. That's including house and land, you know, being as they're not using any of the municipal facilities, and never to be, you know, mortgaged, sold, or expropriated, only passed on. Maybe if you don't see these innovations as part of a solution, then maybe you're part of the problem. We're running out of time here, folks. And for you inventors out there who have this madness, you know, to keep inventing and discovering, you know, if you can't, whether it's a physical thing, you know, in math, chemistry, biology, or whatever, or it's a social thing, you know, you're gonna wind up on somebody's list of the vested interest. But what you got to do is keep persevering and keep inventing. And if there's no place for you here in America, do what we see all over the world. We see the young Americans, other people want them, these creative kids that the system doesn't particularly care for. And so there's always some place. You know, you can go to Europe, you can go to Asia, South America, you know, and other places where, like here, where you'd be classified as disruptors of the status quo. And I think it was my second or third institution. It was hard to tell at that age. Since there was nothing really personal, including names, why they just give you a number, you know, and so this is number 17. Signing off and wishing you the best of luck to all, and keep persevering, and, you know, keep looking on the bright side.